So I generally try to keep my channel reviews on a positive note. I watch these older films. I go digging into the past, trying to find these old classics, and I usually find things about the acting or the story or the production that I really enjoy. And I just talk about all the positives and the merits of these films. But from time to time, I'll find one that just doesn't quite do it for me. And that is the case with Sabrina from 1954. Now, there were some good things, and I'll make a note of these. But ultimately, I found this one was disappointing, and it is not a film I would probably want to watch again. And I've actually watched it twice, which is surprising. This came out in 1954. It starred Audrey Hepburn, Humphrey Bogart, William Holden, and John Williams. Not the John Williams film composer, but John Williams, the British actor. So the plot is basically that John Williams is a chauffeur working for these super wealthy people, and his daughter Sabrina lives with him and is just kind of living this very modest existence. But she is always sort of watching from the trees and from the shadows to see the antics of these wealthy brothers, played by Humphrey Bogart and William Holden. And William Holden is sort of this boozing playboy who's always chasing women, and Humphrey Bogart is this business-minded guy who's always got his head on the businesses and things going on. And Audrey Hepburn, falls in love with William Holden's character, even though he is a 3 times divorced playboy alcoholic. And when she realizes in the film that she's never really going to have a chance with him, in a fit of depression, she tries to kill herself by breathing in car exhaust. So this is supposed to be a romantic comedy, but I can't help but think that's kind of starting off on a dark note. Okay, that's right at the beginning of the film. She's trying to commit suicide. So she is rescued by Humphrey Bogart, and the incident is kind of forgotten about, I guess. He just is wondering what's going on, but never really puts 2 and 2 together. He doesn't talk to John Williams to say, hey, you might want to see about getting some therapy for your daughter. So anyhow, she goes off to Paris, and she learns about baking and culture and so on. And when she returns from Paris, it's one of the Cinderella stories. She's gone from being, much more simple and naive to becoming this beautiful, intellectual young woman who can speak French. And as soon as she returns, she immediately catches the attention of William Holden's character. So even though he's this playboy millionaire, he doesn't really have any clue who Sabrina is, Audrey Hepburn's character. And it's like they instantly fall in love with each other. And then the story sort of veers in another direction where it seems like the Sabrina character, who initially was in love with this David character, now doesn't seem to love him anymore, and maybe it's just sort of kind of a game. The relationship seems inconsistent in this film. Audrey Hepburn seems madly in love with him at first, but then after France, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. Then there's this strange event where at a party, William Holden's character sits down on a champagne glass and gets glass shards in his butt or something. I guess this was another comedic element for the film, and then he's sort of out of the picture for a while so he can get his rear end repaired with having the glass extracted and whatever. So it's during this time Humphrey Bogart kind of steps in and spends time with Audrey Hepburn in the absence of William Holden's character, who's recovering. So, even though Bogart is this business executive who loves work, he spends time with her. And I guess the story in the film is that he's supposed to be falling in love with her instead of William Holden. And the viewer is supposed to kind of see this as a love triangle. But truth be told, I never really saw any real chemistry between Bogart and Hepburn's character, or for that matter, William Holden and Hepburn's character. The thing I noticed, and this is just kind of my thoughts on this, is that you watch Humphrey Bogart with Audrey Hepburn. And, I'm not knocking age differences in relationships. I know it happens, and, that's whatever. But from my understanding from the research I did, is that the filming of this, Audrey Hepburn was only 24 years old, and Humphrey Bogart was 53. So we're talking, he could almost be a grandfather. And when you see the scenes with Humphrey Bogart dancing with Audrey Hepburn at the party, there's almost like this. It's like a father dancing with the daughter at a wedding. You don't see that spark of romance. I never really got that feeling from this film. And again, not knocking age differences in relationships. It's when there's an age difference that's that substantial in a film, it can be distracting. I felt the same thing with Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. I think Audrey Hepburn was like 18 in that film, and he was like nearing his 40s. So that's sort of the struggle of this film, is it's really hard to follow. Not only are these relationships genuine, or where are they going? I mean, I took a look at the clock, and about an hour and a half into the film, I still had no clear idea what was going on in Audrey Hepburn's head. Does she still have feelings for William Holden? Does she care for Bogey? Is she just confused? What is going on? And then near the end of the film, there's this weird encounter with Humphrey Bogart and Audrey Hepburn at his office. And they're in kind of the dark, and it feels weird, uncomfortable, and even a little bit claustrophobic. The two of them have this kind of strange, stilted conversation. They're talking about eating snack food and maraschino cherries, and honestly, at that point in the film, I think I kind of checked out. I didn't really care. And, here's the thing. The four primary actors from this film I think are amazing. I've seen them in other films, love their work. I just didn't like them in this one. So I want to try to keep it on the positive. And I think they did the best they could with this script, but maybe it was just the story. I won't let you know how it resolves and who she ends up with, but kind of see for yourself. If you watch this one, see if you have the same struggle trying to follow what is going on with the relationship with Audrey Hepburn, William Holden, Humphrey Bogart. Who's doing what? Who loves who? Could not follow this one at all. And again, that age difference is very noticeable on the screen. Now, I did want to share a few thoughts on the remake of this film. It came out in 1995 with Harrison Ford and Julia Ormond. This was cute. It was a kind of traditional romantic comedy. I think I saw it once when it came out. I think I caught it, probably from Blockbuster on VHS. And, because it was in the 90s, it's a little more contemporary, it's a little more accessible. But again, there wasn't enough in it to make this more than a watch it one time, move on type of movie. It's not one I would ever go back to watch again. The positive of the remake was that it had some amazing music by John Williams and Sting. I mean, John Williams, of course, the greatest composer ever, and Sting, I'll be honest, is an artist I really enjoy as well. So it was very cool for me to see and hear that combination of music in a film like this. And this is one soundtrack that I would point out is worth listening to isolated. It's very good music. The film, not so much. So that's the review of Sabrina from 1954, and also a very brief review of the 1995 Harrison Ford version. Watch them, see for yourself, let me know what you think. But and one more thought too, and I forgot to mention this above. With Humphrey Bogart, you watch him, and he's in his 50s, and he sort of has this tortured shadow over him. there's shades of Casablanca going on, and for me, it's kind of hard to see beyond Rick of Casablanca and not kind of draw that connection here with the film. When he plays sort of the tortured soul, and you see some of that, the shade of that here in this film, it's kind of hard to get around that connection as well. And it just doesn't work here. It works great in Casablanca, though. So that remains one of my favorite films ever. And that's definitely what I'm building up to reviewing. Maybe when I get on this channel to my 100th film, I think that'll be Casablanca. Anyhow, check them out and judge for yourself.